Hi, Rafiq. Thank you this evening for taking the time. If you could please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, what's going on, Anthony? So I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me. I'm Rafiq again, as he said. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I grew up in a very impoverished neighborhood. So I ended up leaving the house around 17 years old, joined the military, and then now I'm here. I do real estate now.
Okay, and so as we spoke a little bit earlier, I served with you on board Truman, and then also I've seen you as you've developed throughout in your real estate agent career. And one thing that has been the same between both of those things that I witnessed is that you have a great work ethic. Tell us a little bit about where you got that work ethic from, because it had to have came from somewhere, as you were growing up.
It's just instilled in my family. If you want something, you have to go out and get it yourself. Coming from a single mother, being raised by a single mother, I've seen her work her butt off every day, to make sure we're fed. I have other siblings and things like that to make sure they're fed. So it was natural for me to be able to, if I want something, I have to go get it, and I have that.
All right. And so you joined the Navy early, 17 years old, had to get your mom to sign it off. Tell me some lessons that you learned from the Navy, and then you transitioned those into your current civilian life.
My biggest one, I would say, is professionalism. Professionalism. I learned that a lot, and a lot of it came from you. Being tactful, learning how to control my emotions in certain situations, and I think that carries over as well as into real estate as well. Dealing with different personalities and things like that. But that my biggest lesson I learned, I want to say, in the military, is professionalism.
And I do appreciate how you carry yourself, man. I love your suits, by the way. With what you're doing right now, I think it goes a long way. Two reasons, right? For one, professionalism goes a long way because anybody that wants to do business, right? I'm gonna look at that. I'm gonna look at you first impression, be like, all right, this guy looks like he's about business. And then two, on a little personal side, you're a Black male, right? And so instantly, I take pride in that. So I do appreciate you doing that, and how you're going about it. And you're in the local area as well. So let's talk about, now that we're talking about your transitioning you to civilian life, let's talk about, how did you become a real estate agent? How did you come up with that idea? That's what you wanted to do?
How did I become a real estate agent? I would say this is a little bit of a long story, but
that's fine.
We went into a little bit of my military past. I did 4 years active duty Navy, as you know. When I was discharged, it was kind of one of those last minute things. It was like, what am I going to do with my life? I need to find the next thing because I now have a newborn child and I have to still provide for my family. It's not one of those things where I can just go back home. I have responsibilities now. So after I served in the Navy, after I was discharged, I just bought a house. So my realtor, I didn't have, I wouldn't say I didn't have a bad experience, but I felt like I could enhance my experience when it comes to other consumers, other buyers. So I did some research. I saw what was required to be a real estate agent, took my classes. It took about 7.5 weeks, I want to say, for my courses for real estate. And then that's how I got into it. That's how it started. It started as me wanting to provide income for myself and my family. And now it's turned into something a lot bigger than that.
And kudos to you having the maturity to not go back home and take responsibility for what you've done. As far as you have a daughter now. I'm very proud of you, by the way, too. And you just like, all right, cool. I got this situation. What am I gonna do? And it's definitely possible. Never been worried about you being able to make sure you could take care of things when you got out. And you just reminded me, you did buy that house.
Yeah, right.
Did you end up house hacking?
I did. It's literally as soon as I was getting out. As a matter of fact, before I was getting out, I had put the house on the market on Facebook Marketplace. I had tons of people hit me up and trying to book it out. So yeah, we were good, honestly.
That's what's up.
We definitely did rent out all of those rooms. I have 4 bedrooms. I rented out three out of 4 of them.
All right.
Still currently have tenants in there as well, actually.
Yeah, and I mean, as long as your situation it deems it, I would continue, man. Definitely, if anything, if not pays your full mortgage, a good portion of it. So
yeah, for sure.
So that definitely allows you a lot more flex with whatever income you get from being a real estate agent.
Yeah, because real estate is a contractor job. You put in, you get what you put in. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, bad month, or like in the recruiting world, they call it rolling a donut when you got no sales or no you recruited nobody. At least your mortgage is covered.
Right.
So that's something. That's a different approach that you're the first real estate agent that we've talked to that had that approach or that flexibility that I think a lot of other young real estate agents might want to look into. Because I've been told throughout the years that a lot of real estate agents don't actually get into real estate investing. But if I have a house, I'm single, or I can afford, maybe my wife doesn't mind having, the other rooms being rented out, that does give us a lot of flex and maybe a lot more pressure off of me to be able to, to produce just in case.
Well, I mean, yeah, on top of that, it was a little bit more into real estate investing. I'm losing a secure income as well. So that had a lot of motivation for that as well.
But you got creative.
Right. Yeah.
So can you explain how does the real estate course go? Real estate agent course go? You said it's about 7.5 weeks. Is there like a midterm, a final? How's that work?
So it's not a set amount of weeks. It's more so course hours. You can do your own research, and everybody who's watching, they can do their own research, but there's a certain amount of hours that you have to attain to get your real estate license. Every school is different. The school I went through, they had day classes and they had night classes. One thing I didn't mention is when I got out of the Navy, of course, I was doing my investing into my house hacking investing, right? But I still had to make money another way. So I was working for a security agency, making money there at night, as well as working a day job as well for the Commonwealth Attorney's Office in Norfolk. So I have a full schedule. And what I was getting to was my real estate class, they had night classes. So I took night classes as well 2 times out of the week, and it took about 7.5 weeks. And I want to say the classes were about 4 hours a piece. So every school is different. You just have to find one that fits your schedule best. But there's a certain amount of course hours that you have to get. And again, same thing when it comes to midterms and finals and things like that. I want to say the final is required in the specific class, but as far as the midterm goes and things like that and quiz and stuff like that, every school is different. But one thing I do know for sure is that the final is required in that specific class, as well as, of course, the state exam and the national exam.
So you took both? You had to take the state and the national?
Yeah, and Virginia is required for you to take both, unless, of course, you're licensed in another state and you're filing for reciprocity or something like that. Okay,
so all right. I was
like if I'm licensed in another, if I'm licensed in North Carolina, and I want to get, I'm sorry, I got an incoming call. If I'm licensed in North Carolina and I want to get licensed in Virginia, the laws may be similar, so I don't have to take a full state and national exam. I may be able to take one or the other, or a minimized version of the two.
Okay, and you weren't able to, you had to take the state exam one day and the national exam another?
You can take them both in the same day. Me, I had to take them separately. I had to take them separately.
Does the school that you went through, the whoever was sponsoring your course, did they pay for the state exam and national exam, or you had to pay out of pocket?
The school that I went through?
Yes.
They did not. I paid for it out of pocket, and then based off of who I chose for my brokerage, which was Clientele Realty, they reimbursed me for my state and national exam. It's just one of the benefits of whoever you choose to be your broker. So they ended up reimbursing me all of that money for my school plus my tests.
First time?
Yeah, first time. Yeah, I had to.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
I mean, like when it comes stuff like that, we hit the books.
Yeah, for sure, man, because time is money. And I know that when you try to set up being scheduled for another exam, it's not like, oh, next week or tomorrow.
Especially during the COVID. It was during COVID when I took my test as well. So these state exams were backed up for months. So I was like, I gotta take this. I gotta pass this time.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely you came through in crunch time. All right. So we talked a little bit before the interview about the brokerage and the one that you decided to pick. Can you tell us the brokerage that you are currently working with, and then can you tell us why you picked that brokerage?
I am currently with Clientele Realty, formerly known as Chantel Ray Real Estate. I chose Clientele just because of, not just because of, they have a very big platform. They're very modern when it comes to their technology, when it comes to their virtual trainings, and when it comes to just their entire structure as far as the business goes. That's what attracted to me most. as well as it has a mentorship program, which very much attracted me as well. So I didn't want to jump into something and I didn't know what I was doing. And that's sometimes what a lot of real estate brokerages have, is that they just want you to sign on and they expect you to just go out and make your money and do your thing. But thankfully, when I was in class, my real estate teacher, he told us like, hey, like there's a lot more to it than just showing somebody a house or asking somebody to sell the house. There's a lot more to it. There's forms, there's contracts, there's paperwork, there's things that you have to do correctly, or you're going to be fee or charged for it. You're going to be,
And
so I had a mentor.
So, okay. So with that mentor, you said first 4 sales they help you with. Are you taking the lead or are they taking the lead with those?
I'm of course taking it, because this mentor is also a realtor himself. So I have to take the lead. I have to find my own business and things like that. But once I find my business, once I find somebody, hey, they're ready to move forward, every step of the way they're there. Hey, I pick up the phone. Hey, they want to put an offer in. Hey, what do I do next? What do I do next? How do I fill this form out? They're holding your hand the entire time. And yes, that's how they used to do it. I'm not sure of the mentorship process now, of course, because I've been out of the mentor process for a while now. When I started, though, it was the first 4 transactions. They take a small percentage of it because, of course, they're dealing with their own transactions as being a realtor as well as mine. And they're basically taking on responsibility for me as well. So they take their fee, but it was definitely worth it. But yeah, the first 4 transactions. And after that, you're on your own, depending on who the mentor is. Some mentors will say, hey, well, go ahead, do your thing. They want to get rid of you once they got their money and once they helped you out. Others per se will stay with you, just depending on the bond you have.
What was the easiest thing with you getting started being a real estate agent, as far as learning the ropes, and what was the hardest thing?
That's a good question. The easiest thing I felt, I'm not sure the easiest thing.
Like, did you grasp marketing or maybe talking to people faster?
I would say those are, perfect. Those are, I would say both of those. So again, I was in crunch time when I got started again. So that was my motivation for everything. In my mind, I had no other choice but to succeed. I have a family, I have bills to pay, I have no other choice. So when it comes to marketing, I went all in on marketing. Marketing, it's not, it's what your content is necessarily as how much content you put out, because if you have good content, you don't need to put out a lot of content, just unless you want to. But marketing and being a people person, I would say marketing would be my easiest one. But I'm getting around to the people person as far as learning different personalities and how to what is the personality. There's like A personality, B personality. You can I have to basically perfect learning those different types of personalities and how to deal with them.
Yeah, because that's part of the just socializing in general, and in sales, right? You're gonna feed off of people's energy. I interviewed one real estate agent where he talked about he goes off the wife. Like, when he's showing a home, if the wife is like, I can see myself cooking a lot of meals in this kitchen, he looks at the husband, and the husband is like, all right. And then he kind of, caters to the wife a little bit in order to kind of seal the deal. It usually works,
And that's normally that. I've heard that a lot too. That's normally what it is. When you're with the husband and wife, the wife is the boss, of course, normally.
Man. And I like, homes, and I'm really big on that. But even for me, when we bought our home, I just want my office and the garage. She could have everything else. She likes the kitchen. All right, cool. So we don't really need a lot
too
of that.
Much,
so,
we're simple,
yeah. So
I got my space, and then you got your space, and we're good.
Exactly. So how long have you been a real estate agent for now? Has it been over a year now?
It has not been over a year. I'm literally still under a year. I got licensed in July of last year, so it's been almost a year. However, a lot of people are surprised by that,
Yes. I would assume so, because of, like I said, how you've been carrying yourself and how you've been conducting your business. I would think that you've been selling every home in Hampton Roads by yourself. So that's good that you project yourself out like that. It makes people feel like, all right, I could trust this guy. It looks like he knows what he's doing. He's very confident, and it'll be smooth. And I'm not dealing with somebody that's just gonna toss me to the wind. Do you? How many phones you got?
I have 2 phones.
Okay. And so I asked that question because one thing I've noticed in real estate, whether you're an agent, a broker, a contractor is if you are doing better than 90% of the real estate world or whatever field you're in, if you pick up the phone or if you follow up. So with you building your clientele in your marketing, have you seen a difference in when people feel like they're being taken care of versus what are the more common transactions you've seen where people are just transactional with you, or they feel, or the people that want to build a relationship with you and communicate with you and feel safe?
I think it just depends. Like we were talking about, you know, everybody's different. Everybody's personalities are different. It just depends on how interested they are, how motivated they are to buy the house as well. If they're one of those who are patient and they really just want to know who you are as a person, and they're not really in a rush to buy the house. Those are the ones that are more personable and things like that. Me, I try to get personable with all my clients, you know, because it started as me trying to make a buck when it came to real estate, but now I love teaching when it comes to real estate. I love being able to teach clientele, my clients, why it's important to own, you know, why it's important to own, and as opposed to renting. And that's for more so my demographic. You know, others, you know, older than me, of course, already have that knowledge and things like that. But if they don't, some of them don't. Not everybody does. I love the teaching aspect of it. It makes me feel good. So that's what it turned into.
And I'm glad you brought that up, man. So what are some of the things, key points that you bring up when it comes to owning over renting?
Just the dollar sign, the money. How much are you spending every year when you're renting, and where's that money going, as opposed to when you own a house? That's my biggest key point. I like to touch on how when you own a house, there's a possibility that when you purchase a house, you can go into purchasing a house with already money in equity the same day you sign. If you have that great real estate agent, such as myself, you know, that can get you that best deal. In this area in Hampton Roads, I would say the average rental amount per month is around $1,000 to $1,200 a month. That's like $10,000 a year that's going nowhere when you can use that money to pay a mortgage, and you'll be using essentially as it's going to turn into your equity over time, and you can use that money to pull out your equity, renovate your house, increasing the value more, and things like that. You know, that's my biggest key point is the money. Where's that money going over time?
Why do you think?
And there's other parts you can touch on.
My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, and I was just going to say that there's a lot of other reasons as well, but that's my biggest key point. Another reason is credit and things like that. Just investing. There's a lot of different points, but that's my main one is where's that money going? Who are you paying? Where's that money going to, as opposed to if you own?
Why do you think our demographic is more likely to rent than own?
Just not knowing, you know, and that's why I like teaching, because a lot of people who I've talked to, once they knew I got into real estate, they started asking questions and stuff like, well, I'm not ready to buy a house. It's too hard. Well, that's when I get into explaining to them, like, this process is easy. Is easy. That's why you hire a real estate agent. You know, I break everything down for you. Literally, all you have to do is pick out your house and apply for your loan. And, you know, that's essentially like all you have to do. It's not hard. That's what I would say. The demographic, it's just not. They think it's a hard process, right? Or they think they need hundreds of $1,000s in their bank account to get a house, and that's not what it is. I would say good credit. You got a savings account. Steady income, should be good to go. Those are some of the requirements, a majority of them.
Yeah, so a lot of people, and even I've done in the past, I use my TSP balance as my my liquid cash on hand, right, to show that I could cover the mortgage, you know, for the, I think it's usually like 6 months. And so you don't have to necessarily, like what's in my checking account today and be able to qualify. And outside of, I know a lot of people in this area, you probably get hit up with the VA loan a lot. But I know people, you can still use the FHA loan, that's 3.5% down. You can still use a conventional loan, which you could do the 5% down conventional loan, but it has to be a primary, or you can do the 20%. And then that way you don't have to worry about PMI, which is, what is it? Mortgage insurance, primary mortgage insurance. Property. Right.
Because you got to get that with the conventional. Yep, that's required for conventional.
Yeah. Which is for the rest of the life of the whole loan, that mortgage insurance. So different avenues. And so, yeah, you're right. It does just take a little bit of education, because it can be scary to own a home, because you're not just paying your mortgage, right? You got to cut the grass. If the roof comes off, you got to worry about that. If the sink breaks, you got to worry about that. And then obviously that's just where budgeting goes into. So
And
when
that's
it comes,
where I'm sorry to cut you off. That's where, your real estate agent comes in handy as far as that initial appointment, because I explain this to all of my clients. I'm not one of those agents where, rushing for the next deal. I like my clients always to be informed. So when they sign on that dotted line and then something does come up, they're not like, oh my gosh, they are already aware. And then if something does come up, they can always pick up the phone and call me and ask who do I need to do and who I need to call for this.
okay. And so actually, I guess it worked out, man, that you started being a real estate agent around this time because the market is booming.
Oh yeah.
And so tell me what you think about this. So a lot of people outbid, right? The home is listed for 190, but somebody comes at 195, 200, 210, right? Which kind of enforces inflation. So you get a bigger commission, but then now the other homes are now go up in price. Long term, as a real estate agent, do you think that it's your, we'll say duty? Do you think it is your duty to try to, at your best ability, keep homes to where they're still affordable, or it's like, hey, if they're bidding, and I keep it like that? It's not really a trick question. I just want to know what your thought process is on that. Like, what do you think the responsibility or the role of the real estate agent is when it comes to inflation? Or if this is
I
a
don't think we
capitalism?
we have any role or say in that when it comes to that. If it's just based off of, because we have that in anything, even in stocks. So it's like whenever how motivated is the buyer to buy the house? That's what's going to drive it up. That's going to drive the prices up regardless. It doesn't matter how high, how low. When you have demand, price is going to increase regardless. So that's how I look at it.
I asked that
I would
question because,
say, go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. No, I was just saying I asked that question because it was a real estate agent that bought I'm not gonna say they're self-righteous or anything, but they were saying like it's our responsibility as real estate agents to we make sure we cultivate inflation and not let the homes get so high. And I'm thinking, well, that's just capitalism. I think that's just capitalism, supply and demand. I get what they're saying, right? Eventually homes will get too high where there will be people that cannot afford that home. Maybe they were 6 months ago, a year ago now, because there are homes that last year, man, they would have been worth 300. Now they worth 380, and so that knocks out a few people out.
Yeah, that's when these other programs and things like that come into play to make these people qualify for these other increased prices for these houses. I do say what we have a responsibility for is and I'm not going to take the credit for this. A mentor told me when I was talking to him that and I completely agree, is that when it's in this type of market, because like you said, people are having bidding wars. They're offering $10,000, $20,000 above appraised value, above the purchase price. When it comes to that, it's crazy. But if your real estate agent isn't willing to cut their commission, so you don't have to come out of pocket all of that, I feel like you don't have the right real estate agent. I feel like that's our first responsibility, is so that you don't have to pay up all of this money over appraisal, first. If that's the last option, okay. But I feel like it's our responsibility to find our clients the best deal so they don't have to, feel like they're being screwed at the end of the day.
Okay, I can appreciate that. So, somebody bids 15, 20 over, obviously that increases the closing costs. So you're saying that you say, how much percentage do you take? 3? Is it 3% you take?
Give or take, yeah. It's not a set amount. We're not allowed to specify as far as what percentages, because it's more like I think they told me it's like a monopoly thing, because every brokerage can charge different things. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay. So let's just say if you usually did 3, all right, look, man, since they're bidding 20 grand over, I'm only going to charge like 2%. And so that you're right. That is a good point. And I think that good plug, by the way, because I think that will definitely, that's considerate. And I think later on you will create business.
For sure.
So instead of taking maybe an extra 5 grand, you could potentially make another 15 grand later down the road, because they'll call you again for a reference. So I do think that is smart. And yeah, I didn't even think about that, but that is something nice.
Yeah, you just have to have your client's best interest at heart. This is going to be the largest transaction of their lives, so you gotta have their best interest. And I think that's going to keep you you can have that sustainability, that longevity in the game if you genuinely care about your client.
So with inventory still being low, and it's still a seller's market, how does a real estate agent prepare for maybe when the market, let's say when the market cap evens out, how does a real estate agent prepare for stuff like that? Or do you kind of ride the wave? Like how does that the up and downs work for a real estate agent?
Because my business has been a consistent, but with everybody I've talked to, they say, hey, save, you know, because of course we're 100% commission based. So with the market fluctuating and you don't have those deals within a month or 2 months, you just have to save. So as a real estate agent, you just have to budget, finance, and just save and make sure you're prepared for anything that could happen within the market. Because you can't, the real estate market, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say it's more stable than, of course, any other market. It's more stable than stocks. It's not going to drastically change in a day or so. It's one of those things where it takes time. So
yeah, the volatility is definitely not.
Right.
This volatility we're seeing now is the most we've seen in over 10 years. So yeah, the stock market, you'll drive yourself crazy looking at that every day. But yes, real estate, I think there's a lot of stability in it. And the months of April through September is when the majority of the people in the country move. Especially the summertime. I believe July is the hottest month of the year when people actually move. So I can see how like maybe December may be like a slow month or something like that.
November, December, January.
Because for me as an investor, I hate those months because I will extend somebody out. I will, if their lease starts in April, let's say it starts in September. Let's just say I happen to get somebody in September. I will not have them have a 12-month lease of September of 2022. I will do my best to do an 18-month lease to extend them out to April, because, and I don't even mind lowering the rent by $50 or taking $100 off on the front and the back, because if I extend it out to April, let's just say me and that tenant don't work out, April is income tax time frame. I can more than and it's when it's the peak of when people start to move. I can more than likely get a tenant in there.
It's smart. Yeah, that's very smart. Yeah, because when you let them go in September, you're not likely to find. It'll be harder to find a renter.
Yeah. So yeah, those months I stay away from those months. Now they're good because I don't have to worry about landscaping. But as far as rents, you know, people, it's definitely harder. Even trying to get if you get somebody like on a program like we have a 4 kids program, which is like Hampton Roads version of Section 8. Or you have Section 8, and even that's a little tough as well. There's not as many people that's moving. So when it comes to your brokerage, what are the fees that they charge, and how is that you explained a little bit earlier, how is that unique in comparison to others?
My brokerage, Kenzo Realty, they charge a transaction fee. It's a couple $100 for every transaction, and a brokerage fee. These 2 fees are flat rates that come with every single transaction. So of course the brokers, they have to make money some way. They have to make money to put into our programs and our trainings and things like that. So that's essentially what the transaction and the brokerage fee go towards. They don't charge any desk fees or anything like that. But that's about it. They charge that's about it. Brokerage fee and transaction fee, each about a couple $100 per transaction.
Do you think when it comes to the marketing, like gone are the days of like sending postcards? Is it now just social media and maybe just business cards?
Business cards, I've learned have took a downturn. But me, I do everything. I do postcards, I do mailers, I do business cards, I do social media, I do everything. You know, as an agent coming up in the ranks, I have to, you know what I'm saying, maintain that. So I do a little bit of everything. But yeah, I would say mailers and postcards and things like that have become less popular. Even door knocking, I heard, you know, people used to door knock a lot in the previous years. They don't do that a lot anymore, but some do. But I would say it's definitely shifted towards social media, Facebook, Instagram, things like that. But they're still out there. You know, there's still agents that still go the extra mile and send postcards and hand out business cards and things like that.
What do you think you bring to the Hampton Roads real estate market that helps you stand out?
Care. I think I just bring care to, you know, I'm not in it for any selfish reasons. I genuinely care about finding my clients the best deal. I genuinely care about their longevity and ownership. And, you know, just my customer service, my 24/7 customer service. You know, when I was in the military, I got to learn a lot about how to customer service
Yeah.
and it's especially also attention to detail. That was one of the main another big factor that I've learned. So all of those combined, I think that's what I would say separates me from every other agent. But I genuinely care about my clients. I genuinely want to see them thrive when they purchase with me.
When it comes to your clients, what experience did you learn the most from?
Ooh, I learn from every transaction. There's not one transaction where I don't learn something from.
We'll say most
There
memorable.
are, and this is why I say, go ahead.
Most memorable then.
Most memorable, yeah, most memorable. The most lessons I've learned is this is why I go back to when I say attention to detail, right? In Hampton Roads, we are in an area that many of you that most watchers know that there's a lot of flood zones in this area, right? Now, I'll tone in on one transaction I did, and we brought it to closing, but it was a little pressing. So I was taught when you push a listing on the MLS is the multiple listing service. It's the platform where real estate agents use to list their houses, right? It's strictly for real estate agents we can send it over to our clients, but they have a certain viewpoint of it. But we're able to see certain remarks that other agents use once they list their house, right? Out of all the houses I've sold that I've represented buyers for, almost all of them that were in a flood zone, it was right there in the remarks that says, hey, this property is in a flood zone. Now, you being familiar with this area, you know what I'm saying, being familiar with this area and knowing a little bit more per se, you may know, hey, well, is this that's a question that you normally ask, but this particular property didn't have that remark. So it was one of those things where I looked over it and it wasn't a flood zone. Flood zones, you have to pay, it's required for you to pay a flood premium for most properties. Sometimes you got to get an elevation certificate, which is another couple $1,000. That's one thing I learned a lot. That's one thing, when you make a mistake on something, it's something that you'll never do again because it's such a big thing. But it all worked out. My client was understanding. We were able to give him some credit, and thankfully it was in an area where it wasn't a high premium. He was paying like $400 a year for that, which was great.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's great. And they didn't need an elevation certificate or anything like that. So the seller transferred their premium, their policy to them. So that worked out a lot. So we were just able to, 400 per year is what, $25-$50 a month, something like that.
Maybe not even. Maybe. I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
You're the math. You're the math.
A lot cheaper. Was it in Norfolk?
It was in Hampton. It was right off of
off the bridge?
Right by the bridge. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so that's definitely something. So like investors, man, we run away from flood zones because it eats away at your cash flow. Because usually, I've run across the ones that's like $110, $150 a month. Flood zone, flooding insurance, and I'm just like, sheesh. But some of those areas are nice. Like I've seen some homes where they're lifted up, but it's a lot of maintenance down the road. But it sounds like you was able to that part where you're talking about though. I like that area though. So that's actually pretty good deal.
Right off of I want to say Orca Avenue, something
right.
like that.
That's something down the road that I know that you will take heed to when it comes to the customers. They didn't seem to care if they had it, like the area. They just like where they live so much. It didn't matter about the flooding insurance.
Yeah, it didn't matter about the flood. It was just because it wasn't deep into a flood zone, so they weren't really concerned about it, and it didn't make a big it didn't take a big chunk of change from their mortgage, so they don't have to pay much extra, so they were okay with it. They loved the house, so it didn't bother them much, especially because their monthly payment wasn't going to increase by much. They were able to get it all worked out. The seller transferred their policy over. They were only going to pay a couple bucks extra per month. They didn't have to pay any upfront costs. The seller took care of any upfront costs to renew the policy and things like that. So it all worked out.
So one thing that I left out in the buying process, because you said you educate your clients and people that ask about what you do. When it comes to the loan officer, I've always wanted to know this. So when you was going through your mentorship program, does your brokerage kind of link you up with somebody, or do you have to kind of? Okay, they do.
Yeah, he was great. Yeah, he gave me shout out to Edwin Rodriguez over at Iron Valley Real Estate. He's not with us anymore, but he's with Iron Valley. So shout out to him. He's still helping me to this day as well. Whenever I have any questions. But yeah, he linked me with everybody that he's worked with. And to this day, I'm still using those same contacts, literally, and those contacts go a long way because they're part of your team as a real estate transaction, right? So when you're representing a buyer or even when you're representing a seller, if something happens with the loan officer or something happens with the closing company, a majority, you're mainly the mouthpiece when you're talking to the client. You're mainly, you know what I'm saying? So if something happens, they're going to come to you and say, hey, Rafiq, what happened? What's going on? So it's, I'm very grateful that I had him to be able to put me in touch with these people. And everything's been smooth, literally been smooth since day one. So.
Awesome. And so do you feel like, has any of your clients ever talked to the loan officer and then they come back to you and it's like, hey, Rafiq, I talked to the loan officer. This is what they said they could offer me. What are your thoughts? Is it kind of that type of relationship, or usually?
Always.
Okay.
Always, yeah. I from the bat, I always establish that trust. I establish that relationship with my clients so that they can come to me about any questions they have. I normally don't ask my clients' numbers or interest rates and things like that because that's their personal business when it comes to that. But if they come to me and ask me, hey, what do you think about this? What do I think about that? I would give them my advice. Yeah, definitely. It's always like that.
Okay. Do you see yourself being a real estate agent for years to come, or you want to transition into something else, maybe a broker?
I love selling houses. I love this. So it's something different. It's something I've never done before. So yeah, I think I'll be doing this for a long time. I think, of course, I eventually want to elevate and become a broker, eventually have agents that I train and agents that I mentor and things like that under me. Start my own brokerage, but definitely, yes, I definitely see myself being in the real estate game as a whole for a long time, whether it's if I turn to investing, if I turn to being a broker, things like that. I think I would, yeah, for sure.
And also too, because we've communicated in the past about this a couple times, you also do provide services for people just looking to rent.
Yes, for sure. In that MLS that I mentioned, the multiple listed service, there's also rentals in there as well. So I do help a lot of renters because, of course, renters turn into buyers sometimes. So.
And you do get a finder's fee from that.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It just depends. It depends.
It depends on the property management company that you are
Yes, it
working
depends
with.
on the property management company if they're using one. It depends on the owner as well. Sometimes some people don't want to pay that. But yeah, it just depends. If I accept services from someone who's looking to rent and I find them a place whose property manager isn't offering a finder's fee, I won't turn them away. I'll just say, hey, well, no problem. Just give me a call if you have any questions or if you want to purchase.
Is it usually like 10% of the rent? How does that work? How does
Yeah,
that
so
usually work?
it varies. So property managers usually charge 10%, 5 to 10%, I would say. Property managers usually charge 5 to 10% of the rent, yes.
Okay. And then we talked a little bit about equity. And so one of the things I like about equity, and going back a little bit, you talked about the overbidding, right? So the 10 to 15 to 20 grand, right? So if I do a VA loan and I overbid 10, 15 grand, right? And a person that is selling a home, they're probably selling the home for what the market is saying is worth at the time. And then I overbid by 20 grand. I use a VA loan, I didn't put no money down. I could very well end up being upside down if the market goes down in a couple months.
Definitely, yeah. And we're talking about 20, 30, 10, 20, 30 over the appraised value, right? Because the sales price doesn't really matter much. You can increase that, doesn't really matter much. What does it come in at? With a VA loan, what does it come in at? That's specifically the VA loans, that's what matters, is where's the value coming at? If you're offering cash 10, 20, 30 over that, then yes, you will for sure be upside down, depending on the quality of the home. Because the market is what it is now, where it's steadily increasing. Who's to say the houses next door will sell for that same price? So it just depends. Yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of advice your real estate agent should be giving.
Yeah, and that's just something I just want to take people to take in consideration.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, and I don't know the future. Personally, I feel like this is the highest we will see our homes of this year. It's the summertime. I think we're at the peak of recovering from COVID, right? And probably by the later this year and coming into early next year, we'll start to see up in inventory, and then the homes won't be worth as much. But so that's just me if I was a betting man, and that would be something that I would say, hey, take into consideration. You may be able to sell for $400K now, 6 months from now, maybe not. But that's based off whatever somebody's going through. Let that be the determination that they make based off their personal life.
Yeah, well, I would say when we're putting houses on the market, we're always going based off of our advice, and I can speak for all real estate agents. However, the owners, of course, are essentially our boss. Sorry about that. Got another call. So we work for the owners, right? We work for our clients, right? But our advice, all of us, we always go for what is it going to sell at? What is the value? We do our own comparables and things like that. So
yeah.
When it comes to you saying that the houses may decrease in sales price or decrease in value over time, that's very well possible if it's one of you're with one of those properties where you're overpricing it. You know what I'm saying? That's when it comes to that. I don't think it'll necessarily decrease in a fast time because it's the market, right? So everything
only
around it is also increasing.
Only for the overbidders, not for the ones that I like, hey, if it's worth 190, the comps say 190 and I paid 195. Okay, cool. But if I'm paying 230 and the comps say 190, I'm a little worried.
And then that's my thing. If that price goes into the system as 230, the next person next door is going to say, oh, they sold this for 230. Let's list mine for 230. And then that's going to continuously increase the market. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, because they can see all of that. The next agent can see that. That's how we do our comps. We go into the system and we see what houses are pending, what houses are sold within the last 6 months. If I see this house was just sold yesterday for 230, I'm gonna use that for a comparable sale.
Oh, that makes me think of a question. So I'm pretty sure real estate agents, y'all stay in communication with each other throughout businesses, whether it's questions or what's going on. Do y'all talk to each other mid-bid? Like, hey man, I just got this. Like, I know you're selling a home, half a mile from me, and it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath like you. I know our comparables say 190, but I just got a bid for 210. Are y'all talking mid-bid on, hey, this is what's going on, to maybe kind of help out and give some guidance to your seller?
Definitely, yeah. So you're talking about a competing agent, or you're talking about just another agent?
Not the buyer agent, but like another seller. Let's just say it's a seller agent that works in your brokerage as well, and he or she happens to just be selling a home that's nearby to where y'all could be each other's comparable. So if they're like, hey, that home is worth 90, your home is worth 190 that y'all selling, but they just got a bid, let's say for 210, are they hitting you up? Or in mid-conversation, they're like, they're telling you, hey man, I got a bid for 210. We're about to accept it. You should probably coach your seller to probably do the same for their house. It's
oh yeah, definitely. If that's an ideal scenario.
Okay.
That's an ideal scenario. Yeah. If we're in the same brokerage, if we're close, we're bumping shoulders day to day. Yeah, for sure. I would say it depends. It's kind of rare for things like that to happen though. Of course, if we see our local agent that it's in an area that's under the same brokerage, I'll call them up and say, hey, what's going on with this? Not every agent is very forthcoming, especially, just because we're under the same brokers doesn't mean necessarily that we're all close and we communicate and things like that. Every agent is different, especially because of COVID. A lot of people aren't in the office and things like that. So it all depends. That would be that scenario you mentioned. That would be an ideal scenario. That would be perfect if everybody was so nice and would be able to communicate like that. Yeah.
Okay. Because well, I guess obviously there's competition, but I guess that would be ideal situation. So with everything that we talked about, man, we talked about your childhood, you growing up, we talked about your naval career, working for security firm, being a real estate agent, and what your future goals are. What is your big why? As I like to say, your rich state of mind. Why are you doing everything that you're doing? Why are you working so hard?
I would say the easy answer is for my family. You know, that's the go-to. You know, that's the easy answer. My family, my daughter, the generational wealth, which is in fact true. But long answer, I would say my why is to help inform our community. You know, our demographic, keep informed. You know, the people just like me. You know, to bring more ownership to our culture. That's my big why. I love, like I said before, I love teaching. I love letting people know why it's important to own an asset such as real estate. But that's my big why. That's my big why. Generational wealth. I want to bring more owners that look like me.
And please continue to keep that up. One thing I talked about recently in my last interview was from a real estate investor standpoint, I'm looking for renters, right? And we'll say the Portsmouth area, some parts of Hampton, Newport News, Suffolk, you know, those are my areas. But at the same time, it's also my demographic that's mostly renting in the area. There's more renters than there are owners. And so one thing that I discussed with one of the other people I interviewed about was doing rent to own. And you can still, as a real estate investor, still make out on that. That way you're helping out the community. And then also, obviously, you're still getting short-term passive income, about 5 years until you move on to the next deal, but you are still putting people in homes. And so that is something that I just wanted to also put out there as an option for people, whether they, you know, real estate agents to put out and, you know, encourage people to do, because maybe somebody can't afford it right then and there, but rent to own is definitely an option. The rents that they pay, use that as a down payment. And then for the real estate investors that are trying to figure out a way to get more people in there. Definitely a personal conviction of my own that to try to be creative, because whether you want to say it's systematic or whether you want to say it's just some people are just hard-headed, it is sometimes hard to try to formulate a plan for the biggest scheme of things, right? Because that means you got to get everybody on the same page.
For sure. And look, I had a goal that I posted on my social media. My goal for 2021. So I didn't mention this. So when I was working my security firm job in a 9 to 5, I quit and I became full-time January 2021. So the beginning of the year, full-time real estate agent. And my goal at the beginning of the year wasn't to hit some number. It was to make a homeowner every month of a minority of my demographic. So I want to, that's my goal. I want to have a minority become a homeowner every month, regardless of race or anything, but any minority, that's my goal. If I help anybody out, I want a minority become a homeowner every single month. And I'm on track for that.
That's what's up. I do appreciate that you're doing that. And I'm pretty sure that the minorities in Hampton Roads does appreciate that, because I think over the years, right? Because you're not from here, but over the years you have gotten a personal interest in the area, and so have I, because we see, because you're a real estate agent, so you see where the pockets are at, right? And so you're like, damn, all right, how can I change things up a bit? Because gentrification is hard, right? You gotta have millions, and I say millions to affect it, or multiple people on the same page trying to correct it. That's why whenever I see the properties that we have in Portsmouth, man, whenever I see like a house on my block being renovated, I always ask the contractors, like, yo, who's the owner or whatever, and they'll tell me, and I'll be like, that's what's up, and then we'll dap each other up, and it's a lot of love. Everybody, a lot of people got the mindset like, all right, cool to see a brother out here doing it, trying to bring our community back up.
And there's a lot of us. There's a lot of us too. There's a lot of us.
Yeah, there are. As I've been getting ingrained in the Portsmouth area, Norfolk area, talking to, because I like to just drive and I see, okay, who's doing that? Like who bought that? And as I get to know the contractors or people, the owners, yeah, there are. Surprisingly, they are. I don't know if we just like to be low key, or maybe I need to search harder, but yeah, there's a lot of, and I'm proud of that, and I'm happy that that's the case, because we understand the pulse of our community and what it needs, and so I want that to continue, so that we can also encourage and show people of our demographic that, hey, look, this is possible. It's not just doable. These other demographics that you think are capable of doing it. On a little personal note, I spoke, I had a conversation with my son, and he was talking about having a boss. And so in school, we were kind of taught that the hierarchy of having a boss, having a 9 to 5, having a job and stuff like that. And I explained to him that, and for a lot of other reasons, I'll talk offline to you about it. For a lot of reasons that actually kind of hurt me, because the way I look at it is that I look at just Hampton Roads, the world is your oyster. You don't need a boss. You can make your own living. It doesn't have to just be real estate, but you can make your own living doing something else and not having to clock in and clock out. And no shade to anybody that clocks at 9 to 5. I'm a W-2 guy, me being in the military. But I think now that you know better, I know better, right? With us having the kids that we have, to set them for success in a unique way, to where we are not, we did things out of desperation, right? Now we had to, right? Yeah. Now we have kids that don't necessarily have to do that.
Right.
So
because we have the knowledge. We have the knowledge now.
Exactly. So thank you, Rafiq, man. I really appreciate you taking this time, and you have a good night.
I appreciate you having me.